Let's get through the rigmarole before we jump into the podcast. Remember, guys, this podcast posts each and every single Wednesday. The first segment of the show, we go through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. The second segment of the show, we go through all the AFC East news you need to know about. And the third and final segment, we go through the Miami Dolphins fan Q&A. So this first piece of news is on Mike Pouncey's health. And some leaked information happened yesterday, but I wanted it to be confirmed today, and it was confirmed by Zach Links of Pro Football Rumors. The title of the report, latest on Dolphins center Mike Pouncey's health. Dolphins center Mike Pouncey was cleared by a hip specialist on Tuesday, a source tells Ian Rappaport at NFL.com. Pouncey will take a team physical today to help assess what he can do on the field. The Dolphins still plan on being cautious with Pouncey, but the expectation is that he will be ready to go for Week 1. After he missed 11 games in 2016, the Dolphins will be limiting the 28-year-old in practice so that he can play as many games as possible. Pouncey graded out as one of the league's best centers in 2015 as he earned his third consecutive Pro Bowl nod. He didn't qualify for ranking last year, only being on the field for just 301 snaps. Excuse me. But his 62.7 overall score, his worst ever showing at the center position. Excuse me. So, this is great news. Mike Pouncey, there was a lot of speculation if he would even get cleared by the doctor, the hip specialist, and he was. So, great news for Dolphins fans. It's going to be, the question is not about, listen, I have no doubt in my mind that I think everybody in the Dolphins organization already knew this was going to happen anyway. I think everybody is in a wait-and-see mode on where is Mike Pouncey at in his career now. Now, his twin brother, Marquise, he's went through like 1,000 times. He's went through a ton of injuries as well, and I think way more gruesome than he's had way more than Mike Pouncey. And he's come back just fine. I want to see what Mike Pouncey looks like coming back from all these injuries. Is he the same? We'll have to find out, and I think he's going to be better than he ever was. But it's just something I think to keep your eyes on. Is Mike Pouncey still the same old Mike Pouncey? And I think he will be. So this next news story, by the way, that article was by Zach Links, if I didn't say it before, of Pro Football Rumors, or that report rather. So this next news story, Dolphins signed Werner and then put Koamisi on IR. I reported on the whole Werner situation yesterday, but I did not say anything about the Koamisi, so let's get into this. This article is also, the report is also by Zach Links of Pro Football Rumors. I don't know why I said, article report, whatever you want to call it. So this is by Zach Links again. Well, that didn't take long. Hours after auditioning him, the Dolphins have signed cornerback Alteron Werner to a one-year deal, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL.com. In a related move, linebacker Koamisi has also been placed on injured reserve. I don't know how that, well, I guess it's related. Okay, anyway. Misi underwent spinal fusion surgery late last year, and the hope was that he would be ready to go for the season opener. Apparently, he's going to need more time before he can think about getting back on the field. Misi, 30, managed only 127 defensive snaps in 2016 before going down with injury. In 2015, Misi's last healthy season, he totaled 78 tackles and 1 pass defense. Though he never had huge sack totals, he did have 12 sacks from 2010 through 2014. Pro Football Focus, for the most part, has always been high on the former second-round pick. In 2014 and 2015, he had scores of 81.5 and 80.8, painting him as a top 30 linebacker in the league. Earlier this year, Misi accepted a pay cut for the second consecutive year as he agreed to slash his salary by $3 million. The good news is that the Dolphins were not necessarily counting on Misi's health. The Dolphins signed former Steelers linebacker Lawrence Timmons to a 2-year, $12 million deal in March and used a second-round pick on Ohio State product Raekwon McMillan. Timmons and McMillan project to start alongside Kiko Alonso, while Mike Hull, Neville Hewitt, and Trevor Riley and others will come on in with support. It's sad. Obviously, Koamisi, if you missed it, he announced that he's going to tell the Dolphins that he is going to retire. So he's retiring from football. So the whole thing that the Dolphins might let him go, he's gonna retire. So I think he's gonna do that today or tomorrow. I can't remember. So it's sad. Kolomisi had a lot of talent. I think we misused him throughout his career. He went through a painful transition in the middle of his career in the NFL, going from basically a 3-4 rush, outside linebacker to a 4-3 middle linebacker is a big, big stretch. And when people forget, we ran a 3-4. Actually, in 2008, when we made the playoffs, we were a 3-4 defense. And when Kolomisi got here, we were still doing some of those things. So obviously when Kevin Coyle came and the whole regime changed with Joe Philbin, that's when we switched to a 4-3. I might get that. I might have some of that wrong, but regardless, when we tried to switch Kolomisi to a middle linebacker, it was just stupid. He was never a middle linebacker. His rookie season, he was very productive for a rookie. Basically a rookie pass rusher, grabbing, I think, was it five sacks that season? It may have actually been more than that. So that's pretty impressive for a rookie later round pick to tally up those kind of numbers. And it just, he never could stay healthy, and I think a lot of that was because we started him in middle linebacker. And it's a very physically demanding position. So, yeah, and then obviously, Alteron Werner signed a 1-year deal. And the Dolphins were reportedly extremely... I'm not going to read... We've already went through this in the news update, but the Dolphins were, reportedly, extremely impressed with how he worked out. Wouldn't even let him leave the building, which is great news for us. And I love the move. I think, Werner never has been... I think the last few years for Werner, he's struggled. I think playing on the inside for him might be a little bit, it may be, rejuvenating for him to start at that position. And I think he's big enough, and I think he's a good enough tackler, and he's physical enough to play that slot corner position, and he's a veteran. So I think those are all good things. So I can't wait to see him in training camp. I can't wait to see him in preseason. I can't wait to watch him compete and see where he is at this point in his career. Because last year was not the greatest year for him. Obviously, there were reports that that's not the reason they let Werner go. It was because his contract was just too much, and obviously Vernon Hardegraves was nipping at the heels at him. So I think we got potentially we got a steal in Alteron Werner, and hopefully he can showcase his skills this offseason. So I'm super excited. So this news story, in case you missed it, it's an update on the Jarvis Landry contract situation. The Dolphins the headline is Dolphins wary of lowballing Juice Landry. And this is by Zach Links of Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins have yet to offer an extension to Jarvis Landry, but it's not due to the lack of interest. The team is wary of lowballing Landry and putting him in the wrong state of mind as he enters his contract year. Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald writes, by the same token, they do not want to make an initial offer that is too lofty, thereby setting an uncomfortably high floor for negotiations. For the time being, the Dolphins have Landry under contract for 2017 for just $800K. After that, they have the option of hitting him with the franchise tag for roughly $15.7 million in 2018. Given that amount of team control, the Dolphins don't necessarily have to rush to get a deal done. The Dolphins also could be waiting to see how Devontae Parker performs this upcoming season. So that's the whole update on Juice Landry. They're trying to get a deal done with him. And that's an official report. The whole Devontae Parker thing is speculation. That's not true. But everything else was an official that's coming out of the Dolphins organization. That whole Armando Salguero part, 100% legit. They're trying to get a deal done with him. And I think doing it in a way that is fair for both sides and that can make it work for both sides so they can retain Devontae Parker is the smartest thing our organization could possibly do without trying, as the report says, to disrespect Jarvis Landry. So they're trying to do this the smartest way possible, and I think they're trying to do it to where they can retain both of them. And I think that's my theory. And obviously, they want Juice Landry back, or they wouldn't be worrying about disrespecting him. So they want Jarvis Landry to be a Dolphin. They're just trying to figure out the best way for both sides to meet in the middle there and lock him up for a long-term deal. In previous, obviously you guys have already heard about this. Rashad Jennings has talked with 5 teams, including the Miami Dolphins. I think a lot of people were surprised at this. I don't know if we talked. Did we talk about this in the last podcast? It seems like it was forever ago. So I don't think we did, but we'll go through it one more time. This article is also by Zach Links of Pro Football Rumors. Rashad Jennings has proven that he can dance. That's the dumbest thing ever. To start an article, if you don't know, Rashad Jennings was Dancing with the Stars. I don't know why it made me laugh. I'm sorry, but we're waiting for this to load here because I accidentally dropped my device. And we're just waiting. Okay, here we go. Rashad Jennings has proven that he can dance. Now he wants to prove that he can still play football at a high level. The free agent running back says he is anxious to play in 2017 and eager for an NFL opportunity. Jennings added that he has simple conversations with the Lions, Packers, Rams, and Dolphins. The veteran hopes for those simple conversations will lead to a deal from one of those teams. But for now, it's wait-and-see mode. The reigning Dancing with the Stars champion in a 3.3 yards per carry average last year on 181 rushes, but did record 35 receptions on the plus side. Pro Football Focus graded him as one of the NFL's best pass blockers in 2016, and he isn't too far removed from a productive 2015 season in New York. So since my reporting on this, I've had a lot of time to think about why in the world that we would ever talk to him. And again, I think it's just, we could get him for the veteran minimum, super cheap. Wouldn't hurt the books at all, nothing guaranteed. And, you know, maybe see what he can do in preseason. But then I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And I was thinking about it. I was like, going through our roster, I mean, like, to the, like, all the way down it. I don't care. You could go to the fifth, I mean, whoever you want to mention. I don't think he's more talented. I mean, I don't think he's as talented as Kenyon. I don't think he's as talented as Damian Williams is right now. I don't think he's even as talented as Davion Smith is right now. So this whole situation is a bit of a head scratcher for me. And it does make you wonder, like, well, this is just, to me, this is throwaway news. Maybe it's because, you know, Adam Gase loves his sub-packet, he loves different personnel, obviously. He's the master at that, and he loves using different packages for certain personnel, and he loves that. So maybe he wanted Rashad Jennings for the pass blocking, but that's not worth giving somebody a contract for, so... that is something that, you know, the Dolphins, in interviews, all of the Dolphins running backs say they need to get better at, and that, you know, Adam expects out of them. Even Jay, Damian, and Kenyon. I think Damian's probably the best one at it, but Jay struggled at it. Although Jay, when you look at it, he's not bad at it. When you look at Jay's tape, like, he's not terrible at it at all. He'll knock your block off, but and then obviously Kenyon needs to work on it. He's like a twig, so. When you got, you know, C.J. Mosley blitzing up a gap there, and you're the only thing standing between him and the quarterback, you know, you got to beef up a little bit. So maybe that's the reason. I don't know. It's just a bit of a head scratcher, I guess you could say. All right, so we got one more news story, and this is interesting. I think Altron Werner is like Darrelle Revis. I think is what I think the Dolphins have been thinking about it, especially since Mike Tannenbaum is our president of operations, obviously. So, you know, obviously there's the connection there. Apparently he, I'm trying to get the article here, but I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. But anyway, the gist of it was that he, apparently he contacted the Dolphins. They did not contact him, which is interesting. So to be honest with you guys, I wouldn't expect anything to come of it. I don't know the exact details on it. I cannot remember, and we'll probably have to come back to this at some point in the podcast. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think Darrelle Revis would be a really good addition to the team. I think, you know, his experience in the playoffs and the Super Bowl is invaluable, especially to a young team that is as talented as ours. And I think he would add that. Just gives, I think he would just help the defense. And for a lot of different reasons, I think he could help us in the running game from the slot corner role, if that's where we want to play him. Because I used to say we should play him at free safety, but Nate Allen's been playing really well, so I don't think we're going to be able to do, or have to do that. I think we could just sign him as a slot corner, which I think he can do very, very well. So there's a lot of different scenarios there, the way you could use Darrelle Revis. It sucks that I couldn't find that. I think it was more of a rumor than a report. I don't think anything was like legit about it. But to kind of add something to that news that's very important. Apparently, Darrelle Revis has not accepted reality yet, and that's why he hasn't been signed with an NFL team. He's asking too much money, and that we did this with Zach Brown, and I'm not surprised that this is probably the only reason that he's not a Dolphin is because of the money. So that is an official report. I can't remember who. I'm gonna say it was Omar Kelly. I think Omar Kelly talked about it. You can read that on the Miami Herald website or whatever. But Darrelle, he went into how or there's more conflicting reports about that. Even when he was connected to the Cowboys, that he thinks that he's more valuable than he is as of right now. And we've seen that with Adrian Peterson. That's why it took him so long to find a home. And hopefully Darrelle Revis can accept less money. Who knows? All right, let's move to the second segment of the show. Let's get into the AFC East news you need to know about. So I think we're going to start with the Patriots because, well, yeah, I always start with the Patriots. The only reason I always start with what do I always start with? We start with the Patriots because everybody talks about the Patriots constantly, and it's actually really annoying. So yeah. All right, so this is interesting. This first news story. Andrew Hawkins retires from the NFL, so I guess he's no longer going to be a New England Patriot. So that's interesting. Andrew Hawkins, longtime slot receiver, was a really good slot receiver in Cincinnati. Like, a lot of people forget how good he was. So yeah, there you go. Cardinals to meet. Wait, what is this? How is this? Okay, hang on a second. All right, here we go. Rob Ninkovich says he will not play for another team other than the Patriots. So there's another news. Dion Lewis could be on the roster bubble. All right, that's interesting. That's the only interesting news out of this entire pile. So we're gonna dig deep into this. All right, let's get into this. This report is by Connor Bryan. Patriots running back Dion Lewis may have to fight for a roster spot this summer. Mike Jardy of CSNSG's Patriots beat writer, his colleague says it would be a mistake for the team to cut him if he's healthy. Fellow back Brandon Bolden should be in greater jeopardy as he offers little offensively. Lewis has provided solid production as both a runner and pass catcher when on the field during his 2 years in New England, having averaged 4.6 yards a carry and 113 attempts and in total of 53 receptions, but he hasn't appeared much. A torn ACL in 2015 and the subsequent recovery process kept Lewis out of the action for 9 games in each of the previous 2 regular seasons. Releasing Lewis would save the Pats all of $200K of the $1 million cap hit, and they still have a capable group of backs with Mike Gillislee, James White, and Rex Burkhead leading the way. That's interesting. Just to kind of go through this right now. So Mike Gillislee played behind Shady McCoy, and he played behind an offense that was like, to be honest with you guys, that running scheme was really good. I don't think their scheme is totally different. A lot of what Mike Gillislee was doing was out of the pistol formation, and a lot of it had to do with misdirect. Dude, they were running triple options, for God's sakes. They looked like a college team Buffalo did last year, and it was very effective because of Tyrod Taylor. Put him in New England's running style with Tom Brady, who is no athletic threat at all. It's going to be a different scheme. I don't know if Mike Gillislee can be the same back. And then you go to Rex Burkhead. He's just going to be Danny Woodhead, a really poor man's Danny Woodhead, and out of the backfield. And then you look at James White, who, in my opinion, out of all of those guys, is by far the most talented. So there you go. All right, let's move on to the next team. That's interesting news. If he did get cut, I think he still has. The kid is still. Him and James White are by far the two. I don't think Mike Gillislee is as talented as those two, and that might be controversial. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that whole situation. All right, let's go to the Jets next. You know what? No, we're going to the Bills. Where's the Bills? Looking for the Bills, people. All right, here we go. Buffalo Bills. All right. All right, here we go. All right. So this is gonna hit Dolphins fans in the balls right here. Bills signed Sam Barrington and Bakari Rambo. Obviously, if you're not familiar with Bakari Rambo, oh my god, I just hit my mic. Excuse me. If you're not familiar with Bakari Rambo, he was a very big part of the Miami Dolphins playoff run. He made a lot of plays. A lot of people forget about how many plays he made. He was pretty trash. Other than that, other than those plays he made, he was not very good. So this isn't. I guess it won't hurt Dolphins fans, but I don't know. Let's see here. We're not going to read about Barrington. We'll do Rambo. Rambo, 27, hooked on with the Dolphins midway through the 2016 season in 9 games, 5 starts. He recorded 39 tackles, 1 interception, and 3 pass defense. Barton, okay, so that's literally it. The Bills claimed Lewis. I guess that's it. So yeah, he's a Buffalo Bill now. Interesting. I don't even think he's gonna make the final cut with them. So, the Bills met with Davion Still and others. And obviously, Bills to work out Anquan Bolden, which we talked about in the last podcast. So we'll move on from that. But if you're not familiar with that story, obviously the Bills are very short-handed with receivers. So they're going to be taking a look at Anquan Bolden. That's about it. Even though Anquan Bolden was reportedly, when asked where he would like to play, he said he wanted to play for a Florida team. I think he tried to talk to, all 3 teams, and they were like, our receivers are too good. Let's see here. We haven't done the Jets yet, so let's do the Jets. All right, so this will be the last. Hopefully, I didn't know that about Dion Lewis. That I think I didn't heard about that, but that's interesting. The Jets host Orlando Franklin on visit. All right. Obviously, the Jets have basically came out and said they're tanking, so that's a new story for Sam Darnold. And a part of me, well, I'm not gonna say it. Let's keep going here. All right, let's get into the Orlando Franklin story. Jets host Orlando Franklin. This report is by Zach Links of Pro Football Rumors. The Jets hosted Orlando Franklin for a visit Tuesday. A source tells Adam Schefter of ESPN.com Franklin has been looking for work since being released by the Chargers in May. Franklin met with the Jaguars earlier this offseason, but he hasn't gotten a ton of bites in general. The Dolphins, who have a clear need for help on the interior line, aren't interested for one reason or another. Franklin, 29, came to the Chargers as a free agent prior to the 2015 season, but he did not live up to his 5-year, $35 million contract. He played all 16 games last season, something he did not do in 2015, but he also graded as one of the 7 worst qualified guards in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. The Jets probably can't offer Franklin an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, but they are a team that are in need of a lot of depth along the offensive line. Franklin would have a good chance of making the Jets' final cut and could get opportunities to showcase himself for a more lucrative contract next offseason. I think for one reason and another, the whole thing with us is, Orlando Franklin was a liability. If you look at any beat writer for the Chargers who, obviously they follow the team over hand and fist, it's their job. Orlando Franklin was a huge part of why the Chargers struggled last year, and he was not helping things, basically, and he played all 16 games, so, and now, I'm not saying that was all, obviously the Chargers went through a ton of injuries, so it's not all his fault. So yeah, I think, that's it. So we're moving into the Miami Dolphins fan Q&A. We're getting into the community, and you guys have been amazing yesterday too. A lot of interesting points were made about the whole Werner situation. I think a lot of people are excited about it, which is good. So overall, great. I think Dolphins fans are just overall happy with the whole the Werner signing, which is good. And then I need to let's see here. I just had my brain froze for 2 seconds. Tomorrow is Thursday, so tomorrow would be the first day of training camp. So I was like, should I wait till Thursday? But I was like, no, we got to get the podcast out today. But I don't know. We might do another one Thursday. Let me know how you guys feel about that. All right, so let's get to the first question. This question comes from Brandon, and his last name that I'm not going to even. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce, but it's Buchanan. I have bad eyes, guys. Like I have to get up close to these names here, and I'm not just making excuses. Anyway, let's get into the fan. I'm rambling. All right, he says, do you feel we can use Jakeem Grant like Tyreek Hill? Yes, I think that's something that Adam Gase, he's in interviews. Adam Gase has said before he loves watching. Obviously that's his job, and he loves taking cues from other sorry, I just hit my mic again. But he loves taking cues from other coaches, including Andy Reid. And I would suspect that he saw what Tyreek Hill was able to do last season, and he's gonna probably try to adapt a little bit more of that. to the offense this upcoming season. If moving the mic, I'm sorry I had to move the mic a couple times there, but my big hand slapped it. But anyway, back to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is, Jakeem Grant. Jakeem Grant, yeah, I think we're going to use him in, reverses in the running game. But people forget that Jakeem Grant had one target last year, and that was it. And he didn't catch a ball all year last year. So that's how productive that man was in the receiving game. So it's all up from here. And he was a great special teams player. He just put the ball on the ground 5 times, which you cannot do, especially since he was mostly a punt returner, not a kick returner. That's just something you just can't do that. And he should be able to improve big time on that this upcoming season. And obviously Clyde Christensen has came out and said, you know what? The kid has practiced. He's worked hard. This was in a press conference. The kid has worked hard all off season, and he's looked really good in OTAs. He said that he probably has the best technique. He said he probably has the best technique on the entire team, which is insane because Jarvis Landry is on our football team. So I think we've been hearing a lot of positive things from Jakeem Grant, and I think you can expect some extremely explosive plays from him this upcoming season. The reason he didn't get a lot of offensive snaps is that he could not. Everybody was learning the offense. He didn't get a lot of reps, and he was basically all of his attention was on special teams. So he didn't get to learn the offense basically at all because everybody else was eating up that time, and he was trying to learn special teams, which he didn't. He didn't do that in college. People don't know that he did not do that in college, so that was the reason he struggled so much to get into the football game on offense and get involved in the passing game, was just because he did not know the playbook. So this year he's worked on it the entire offseason. He's worked on the playbook, so I would expect big things from Jakeem Grant. I would expect big things. At least bigger things from what we saw last year. And you should see more of that from him, like the reverses, end arounds, hit him deep, play action, hit Jakeem Grant deep, quick screens to Jakeem Grant. Expect a lot of that this upcoming season because he's familiar with the playbook. Mikhail Hansen. This question comes from Mikhail Hansen. He said, I heard a news reporter on NFL Network say the Dolphins definitely should be a top 10 offense. What is your thoughts? Absolutely. Absolutely. They definitely should be a top 10 offense this season. I make a lot of fuss about the guard position because obviously it's an important position. But you can hide one bad. You can hide one okay offensive lineman. I'm not gonna say you can hide a bad offensive lineman because you can't. But you can hide one okay offensive lineman who's just good. He's just okay. And I think Isaac Asiata and Ted Larson, if anything, they're gonna be okay. And I think Jermon Bushrod is okay to good. So I think we should be okay. That would be the only thing that would stand from us getting into the top 10. But from every other position, when you look at how deep our running back group is, how deep our receiver core is, how deep our tight ends are, people forget about Thomas. I can't remember. I always butcher his name. Thomas Durante, the kid we drafted out of UCLA, who in my opinion was an absolute steal in the 7th round. He's still here. I can't wait to see what he does in preseason. So. Everything, we are so deep and talented on the skill, but yeah, I think definitely we're going to be a top 10 offense. All right, this next question comes from T-Zone. He says, we have one of the best wide receiver cores in the league, talent-wise, Landry, Parker, and Stills. Which of the big three do you think will lead the team in touchdowns this season? Oh, man. Devontae Parker. And Kenny Stills is going to be a close second. And it's hard to pick between those two, but I think I'm going to say Devontae Parker. Gamer Riffic says, what did you grade our draft? I gave us A, I think, A or A minus. The reason I did that is because I think we really improved on defense, which we needed to do. A lot of people forget how bad our defense was last year. We were 29th in the NFL in overall defense, and statistically, Dolphins' defense has never been that bad. So defensively, we did a great job of fixing the problems on our defense, instead of cushioning other positions that we don't need on the defense. We did a great job of fixing the defensive line. We did a great job of fixing the linebacker position in free agency and in the draft. And we did a great job of just fortifying the defense and giving it more depth and flexibility. So that's why I gave it an A, because I think that's what we needed to do, and I think we did. That's what I think I thought we needed to do in that draft. I thought we did a tremendous job with that. With also adding offensive weapons like Isaiah Ford and Isaac Asiata, who I can't wait to see where they are at in their career in preseason. Alright, so this next question comes from Ronald. He says, Skaggs, who are your top 5 players with the most to prove for the 2017-2018 season? So who are the top 5 players with the most to prove on the Dolphins? This is a good question. 5 players. Jakeem Grant's definitely one of them. I think he was a disappointment last year. He's definitely Leonte Carew is one of them too. I think he definitely underachieved for the hype that was surrounding him and the expectations that were surrounding him going into this season. So there's 2. With the most to prove, oh man, Jarvis, from the standpoint of I guess not Jarvis, but getting in the end zone has been a big gripe. Like in interviews you can see when people ask him like, what can you do to get in the end zone more? You can see it bothers him a lot. So Juice. And I think from the standpoint of, just to prove people wrong in that aspect. So I think Juice 3. 4, Tannehill, that's an obvious one. I think people need to get off his back, and just in general, because of, I think when Tannehill does, and I think he will, when Tannehill, in quotes, breaks out this year, because he had a really good season last year, I think a lot of people are going to look back on his resume and say, I think we were a little too hard on him, and I think a lot of people are going to do that. So I think Tannehill. I think we got one more to go. Who else? Oh man, Bobby McCain. If you know Bobby McCain and you interviews with Bobby McCain, and you know like his personality trait. Well, I'm not going to say that. Like I don't know Bobby McCain, but you can see it with like how disappointed he has been within. Okay, 2 people for a tie, Jordan Phillips and Bobby McCain. If you have ever seen an interview with either of those 2, and when they ask him, what can you do to be more consistent and improve your obviously your play, they are always so self-deprecating, and they're not like a prima donna superstar. If you ask them that, they're gonna be like, oh, get out of my face. They know they're doing wrong. They know they have to get better, and they've said it so many times. And I think this season they're gonna really try in their 3rd season to put those demons behind them. So those are my 6 to 5. This next question comes from Dwight Keller Williams, and he says, hang on a second, I don't think this is the Dolphins. He said, don't read this paragraph in your live stream. He told me not to read it. Alright, so I'm not going to read it. I don't know. You know what? We could go do you guys want to read it? I don't know. I guess we're not going to read it. Brandon says, what if we hired Rex Ryan as a defensive coordinator? He has came out and said publicly that he will never be a coordinator again, and the only job in coaching he wants is a head coaching job. So that's just not going to happen. Brandon says, do you agree that Jarvis Landry is a part of why the team culture changed besides Gay showing up? No. Yes and no. Yes. I misunderstood the question. Do you agree that Jarvis Landry is a part of why the team's culture changed besides Gay showing up? Absolutely. I misread that question. Yeah. Tannehill brought it too, but again, I don't think it took Tannehill a while to become what he is today. When Tannehill was drafted, he was he was a leader, to be honest with you guys. David Garrard, if you've ever seen that interview with him when they asked him, because if you remember, David Garrard was supposed to start Tannehill's rookie season, and then he suffered a season-ending injury. But when they asked him, do you think Tannehill is a franchise quarterback, he said absolutely. And he talked about the leadership that Tannehill brought to the football team. And then obviously when you look at Jarvis and what he brought to the team, they both, not a lot of people know this about Tannehill, but I swear to God, this is in an interview you guys can watch on YouTube. This isn't me just blowing smoke in the air and just expecting you guys to believe it. This is facts here. At least David Garrard's from his perspective in the locker room. He said he was a great leader. He works really hard, and he's a great person to set an example for the team. And he said he was a franchise quarterback. And I think Tannehill helped in that aspect. And I think Juice absolutely helped turn around the culture. Both of them accept nothing less than winning. And I think, Tannehill's not a very, God, I don't know how to really put it. He's not very, he's not, like, his personality isn't, he doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve like Jarvis does. Like, his emotions you can just see. I think the clip that personifies what Tannehill is and how bad he wants to win, and how seriously he takes the Dolphins franchise and his role in it. When he got hurt and he he partially tore his ACL, I guess. You saw the emotion on his face and how much that this does mean to him. And I think that clip personifies who Tannehill is. So yeah, I think a combination of all those things really just led into Adam Gase, and I think that's why Adam Gase, a part of the reason he wanted to come to Miami is because of the young team that we were, and I think he really just guided our young players to the promised land, and obviously he brought his own culture and his own way of doing things, that just changed the Dolphins franchise. Brandon says, this is a long shot, but if Byron Maxwell got hurt, we signed Revis, do you think he would like playing in Miami? Yeah, I think he would love playing in Miami. He loves Florida. He lives in Florida. He would kill to play in Miami, and especially in a starting role of that caliber. Yeah, I think Darrelle Revis would love to play in a Dolphins uniform. Brandon says, wouldn't it be smart to start Kiko, Timmons, and Raekwon and let Deion Lacey be backups? I mean, Deion Lacey's got to do a lot of things to make the roster, but so Koa, to start Kiko, Timmons, and Raekwon. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. Now that Koa's retiring, that's definitely what's gonna happen. And the rumor is that the Dolphins want Raekwon to play inside linebacker anyway. Brandon says, how do you feel about Deion Lacey, and could he be a good backup for our linebacker core? I have to watch more tape on Deion Lacey to really give you a breakdown, but I know of him. Brandon says, and what do I think he could be a good backup for our starting up for the linebacker core? We'll see. Brandon says, I think Tony Lippett is our best DB. Do you agree? He was our least targeted corner last year. I answered this to the fan Q&A. Do you think he could be? No, I don't think he's going to be our best DB. All-Star Gabe says, yo, Skaggs. This question comes from All-Star Gabe. He says, yo, Skaggs, what do you got to say about Big Garrett King's trying to play for the Dolphins? To be honest with you, I read the headline of the article, and I guess I should have read more about it, so I'm not gonna answer that question, but I'll get back to you on that one, Gabe. Bang Squad Gaming says, do you think Devontae Parker will have a breakout year, or that's just talk? But personally, I think the first year he was injured. Excuse me, I'm going to redo this one. Bang Squad Gaming, this question comes from Bang Squad Gaming. It says, do you think Devontae Parker will have a breakout year, or that's just talk? But personally, I think the first year he was injured, the last year he was getting into his groove, but I think he will have a breakout year. That's not just talk. That is seeing is believing, as the old saying goes. And we saw it. We're not just saying it. We saw it in OTAs. Like, he looked legit in OTAs. Bang Squad Gaming says, do you think Rashad Jones will have a comeback year after all those injuries? Yeah, I answered that in the fan Q&A. Absolutely. He's one of the best team. He was the 2015 MVP of the Dolphins. He's one of the best players on the team. He's one of the best players in the league. Antoine Jackson says, do you think we can beat the Pats? I always hear them say Raiders, but I think we have I think we have Raiders defense was as bad as ours, and the defense didn't get any. Their defense didn't get any better. We have the best chance of beating the Patriots, obviously, because we played them 2 times this season, and the Raiders aren't guaranteed to do that, and 2, something about Tom Brady playing in Miami. It's just let's just say that the advantage goes into our favor. Jonathan Diaz says, "All right, man. It's crunch time. Training camp starting soon. My question is, if Devontae Parker has the year everyone thinks he's going to have, do you think he will, what do you think? Yeah, I answered this the question in the fan Q&A. So, yeah. Lou says, if you could pick 2 players for the Falcons to help our team, who would it be? Ooh, this is a great question, Lou. I don't even know if your name is Lou, but I'm calling you Lou. So, who would it be? Oh, man. Oh, man. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say Julio, obviously, and the second one's really hard. I'm gonna say Dion. It was between Keanu Neal, because him and Rashad together would be so amazing. You know what? Scratch Julio. I'm gonna say Dion Jones and Keanu Neal. That was one heck of a draft for the Falcons, man. Getting both of those guys. One heck of a draft. Andrew Carter says, how do you think Jakeem Grant will work within the offense? Like he'll be a mini Tyreek Hill type of player, special teams wide receiver / halfback, or would he just be one position including special teams? I think he'll do all of those things, for sure. Andrew Carter. That question came from Andrew Cantor, excuse me. He asked if the Jakeem Grant question. All-Star Gabe says, he says, what do you think this team would be right now if we drafted Matt Ryan? The same. I am not the biggest Matt Ryan fan in the world, especially after the debacle in the Super Bowl. Obviously, as Dolphins fans, we sit there and we're just like, please God, don't let him get another ring. And that's personal for us. At least it is for me. So I've just never been a huge Matt Ryan guy. He's had talented offenses in the past, and the numbers that he's put up, I'm talking like Super Bowl talented offenses. If you guys remember the Roddy White, Julio Jones, Tony Gonzalez, like, are you kidding me? First of all, are you just that offense alone? If you have Julio Jones, Tony Gonzalez, and Roddy White in their primes, and people forget when he signed that deal with Atlanta, Tony Gonzalez was still Tony Gonzalez, and it blows my mind that he put up some of the stats that he did. So I don't think it would have been much different. I mean, obviously, he came in the league in 2008, so I think we'd have had better seasons overall. I think the team would be better off because of it. Because Matt Ryan, for all the things I don't like about him, I think he is a great quarterback. I mean, it's hard to deny what he was able to do. Broke the record for yards per attempt last season. Manned the greatest offense possibly, second greatest offense the NFL has ever seen, to Adam Gase's Denver Broncos. So yeah, but I think it definitely would have been different. I think we would have had more playoff appearances, but I mean, I don't think I think it would have looked something like the Falcons, something like that. I think our defense over the years has been like 1,000 times better than the Falcons' defense has been. It would have been interesting to see what he could have done with a defense, but yeah, not to get there's a lot of I don't know how to answer that question. It would have looked different, obviously, and I think we would have had, best way I can put it, we would have had more playoff appearances than one in almost 10 years until last year when we made the playoffs with Tannehill. Will, this comes from Will. He says, Skagster23, do you think the Redskins should change their name? This is not a Dolphins-related question, so I'm going to answer this in 0.2 seconds. No, I don't think they should change their name. And I'm not going to go in deep into why and everything. You can understand that, Will, but that was a good question. Will says, Skagster23, who do you think will have the most sacks for the Dolphins this season? If I just, were to, I'm not going to say, like, if I were to just like take crazy pills right now and snort coke off of a turtle's butt and just be like, you know what, I'm gonna say Charles Harris, but something inside of me wants to say Charles Harris right now. But obviously, I think it's gonna be C. Wake. But I think a close second will be Charles Harris. And a lot of people are wondering, will we ever see, we got to come up with a name for Cameron Wake and Charles Harris, because they're both their names start with a C. The Killer C's? I don't know. But anyway, a lot of people were wondering, will we ever see Cameron Wake and Charles Harris line up on either side of the field together? And I think we will this upcoming season. Plenty of times. This next question is a deep and emotional, painful question for me. This question is this is a great question. He says, this comes from Will. And this is a question, Will is asking the community this, by the way. So everybody who's listening to this, if you made it this far into this video, you better take the time and get into the comment section and I want the whole community to answer this. This question comes from Will. He says, Skax383, what's your most heartbreaking Dolphins loss or moment? Dear God in heaven, dude, I am the literal definition of speechless right now. I'm not saying, you know what, looking back, here's what I'm going to say. The most heartbreaking thing that breaks my heart over the last how many ever years, is the fact that we never got a quarterback after Marino in the early 2000s. It breaks my heart. Just looking back at how good, because if you remember how we started, obviously we made the playoffs. We ended up beating Peyton Manning, if I can recall, in the wild card round. I think that was a home playoff game. I'm pretty sure that was our last home playoff game, and we literally almost killed. God, who was starting at running back at the time? Whoever it was, we almost murdered them because they took so many carries, He had a great game. I think he had 200-something yards. But we barely won that game. But our defense was so good with Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor and Tim Bowens, with Patrick Surtain and Sam Madison. That defense was Legion of Boom defense, talented. And it sucks so bad that they never got a quarterback. And not only did for those guys, they never got a quarterback. It hurts me even thinking about it right now. But Ricky Williams. The years that Ricky Williams just had his best seasons with the Dolphins, obviously, and we went 10-6 that season and barely missed the playoffs, and he had those performances against the Buffalo Bills. If we had a quarterback to take some of the pressure off of those guys, obviously Ricky has that quote, if I ever had a quarterback in Miami, we would be champions, which is true. I think we would have won a Super Bowl. At least one in the 2000s, because our team was that talented. And if we could have just found, we don't even have to find, we didn't even have to find, who's a good, Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers. We're not that high level of a quarterback. We could, the funny stupid thing is we could have had Drew Brees, but we didn't have to get somebody like that. All we had to do was get Alex Smith, and we couldn't even find an Alex Smith. So it was until Chad Pennington, when Chad Pennington came along, trotted along. It was too late. He was at the end of his career. His shoulder was all banged up. The man barely could. He could barely get the ball down 50 yards down the football field. He was just banged up, but he was old. So we never. That's what breaks my heart, is we never got a quarterback for those teams. And if we did, dude, oh my God. We would have another ring on our finger. Worst loss or moment. Dude, the worst loss that I've taken in the last, I want to say, we'll say 8 years, was the loss when we literally went on this high. It was awesome. We beat the Steelers away at Heinz Field. It was pouring snow. Tannehill had a great game that game. We beat them. We have a thrilling victory against New England. I've talked about this before, at home. And Michael Thomas picks the ball off in the end zone to win the game. But that was when Michael Thomas literally just joined the team after playing with the 49ers. He moves to Miami. He was only on the team for 2 days, and now he's been on the team for how many years now? And then people forget Charles Clay, how insane he played that throughout that stretch. And then we have 2 more games, guys. All we have to do is win one of those 2 games, and guess what? We're in the playoffs. And Tannehill is, and he would start his second year in the league. With a playoff berth in Miami. Could you imagine people would be like, oh, Tannehill, and then it would be like, well, he brought us to the playoffs his second season. Anyway, so that was the big moment, and all we had to do was beat the Bills were so bad that year, and so were the Jets. The Jets were like super, like they weren't terrible, but they weren't crapping good. And all we had to do was beat one of those 2. And I think the Jets ended up finishing up with a record of 8-8 or something like that. And but they were like they were like 7-8 or something going on into that game, and we somehow messed that up. The Jets game was so bad, and for me anyway. I know that was a long answer to the question, but that game hurt my dang soul. The fact that Ed Reed, who was in a crapping wheelchair, wheeled himself onto the football field and somehow it was getting interceptions is just gross to me. And the fact that Ed Reed was a Jet ever is disgusting. Anyway, let's move on. God, I'd shake that off. Will says, who would you trade Juice for? Who would you trade Juice? Would you trade Juice? Excuse me, I'm an idiot. Will says, would you trade Juice for Odell? No. I know that's probably gonna make some people mad, but there's some heavy Dolphins fan feelings that go into that trade. Will Vargo says Skaggs or well, not saying that Juice isn't the player that Odell is, but I'm saying I'm biased. It's kind of hard to ask me that question. Will says Skaggs or he says, which class do you consider to be the best Dolphins rookie class in the last 10 years? Dang. 2012 was really good, despite the misses that we had, and David, an active community member on this. Hopefully David's listening to this, and if you are, let me know, David, if you made it this far. But David, he does a great job of articulating the job that we missed out on Bobby Wagner. We ended up getting Jonathan Martin. The last best draft class we've had in the last 10 years. See, 2012 we got Tannehill, Rashard Matthews, Lamar Miller, Olivier Vernon. That's pretty dang good. 2014, 2013 was crap and terrible. 2013 was one of our worst drafts. 2014 was good. We had Juice in that one, which makes it okay, I guess. And then obviously Juwan James in the first round. 2015 was Devontae Parker and Jordan Phillips in the second round. I don't know, dude. That's hard. Let me know. Give me some of your answers. I don't know. I gotta have my memory is not the greatest. But 2012 I think would be up there. Will says dude, those are 4 Pro Bowlers: Lamar Miller, Olivier Vernon, Rashard Matthews, and Tannehill. Those are 4 pretty dang good players. Okay, Randy Moss from Patriots to Vikings to Titans, Michael Vick to Eagles, and Drew Brees. Let's not go there, LOL. Who are some of the players you regret the Dolphins not picking up on waivers? Aldon Smith, maybe. Aldon Smith, no, because he still hasn't been able to stay on the football field. But Randy Moss, I don't think Randy would have helped the quarterback situation, so I'm going to X him out. Michael Vick, no. And then Drew Brees is the obvious answer to that question. Yeah, Drew Brees. The Gamer12345 says Sam Darnold or Josh Allen. Sam Darnold. The Gamer12345, who do you think will have the highest Madden 18 rating for the Dolphins in Madden 18? Guys, I'm hyped. I am so excited for Madden 18. They're bringing back arcade. I'm excited. We're going to get some... Dan Marino is in the campaign, guys. Are you kidding me? Dan Marino is a main character. He is the Obi-Wan Kenobi to Luke Skywalker. He is the mentor to the protagonist of this campaign. Are you kidding? Of this video game, this story. Dan Marino. It's gonna be amazing. Madden 18 is already a 10 out of 10 for me because of that. He says, who do you think... Dude, I can't wait for that. Who do you think will have the highest... Dan Marino. Do you think... the Gamer12345 says, do you think Xavier Howard could be better than Brent Grimes ever was in Miami? Yes, because he would have longevity. Gamerific says, it was funny in the podcast when you tried to pronounce my name. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Gamerific says, do you think our old jersey... Do you like our old jerseys or new... I literally love our new jerseys. And I was watching the Steelers game, the Steelers playoff game with my mom, and I was like, our jerseys look clean in this game, and she agreed. So I love all jerseys. They looked really good in that game, even though we got destroyed. We looked great. Ronald says, Skaggs, do you think Miami signs TJ McDonald to a long-term deal in the offseason, or do you think it would be better to draft a guy like Derwin James? I love TJ McDonald, and I've been watching All or Nothing lately, and he makes me love him even more. Yeah, I think if he plays well enough, yeah. Jade, I don't know, though, because we have other things to deal with, too. Jaden Underwood says, feelings on available free agents. I hear we are talking to Rashad Jennings. That's not going to happen. There's nothing really left. Another, really small news story to throw in there. The Dolphins are monitoring, they are keeping an eye on guards. So... Brandon says, do you think we should pursue Michael Orr? Absolutely not. Keely Anderson Skaggs, do you think the Dolphins should pick up Michael Orr and convert him to a guard? Still a very talented lineman, question mark. No, he's not. And he's out of... No. Jay the Boss 14, he says, do you think there's a chance that Charles Harris will start at any point this season? Absolutely. Erratic YT, he says, how much cap space do the Dolphins have left? I do not have the exact numbers in front of me. I'm not even going to attempt to let's move on. Eric YT, oh god, I know I'm going to get it wrong, so I'm not going to say it. Erratic YT says, do you think Howard will be healthy for the 2017 season? I'll probably put it down in the comment section to tell you guys. Clayton Yo says, do you think we should convert Koamisi to a defense in it? He's retiring, Clayton, so it's sad. He says, do you think Howard will be healthy for the... Erratic YT asks, do you think Howard will be healthy for the 2017 season? Yes. Clayton asks, what about Koamisi? He's retiring. And then he says, should we use him as trade bait for a position like guard? He's not. He's going to retire. John says, will the Dolphins go to the playoffs? We are talented enough to be a playoff team. We are overly talented. We are more talented than a wild card team. Niners says, our guards are... Yeah, I answered that in the fan Q&A. Ronald says, yes, our guards... Yeah, that's answered. Trace says, what do you think Jay Ajayi will do this season? He will be so much better in the passing game. That's the one area he's going to improve on. Esperanto, and that, you know what that's going to allow, guys, is more play action fakes, because when we don't have to take Jay out, which we I mean, I guess really we won't, but yeah, that was stupid. Never mind, I take that back. Esperanto says, do you think the Dolphins versus Broncos is a good matchup? I'm worried about the Broncos defense, but I feel like we can stop their offense. Do you think it's going to be yes, I think it is going to be close. Esperanto says, could the Fins start 4-0? We're talented enough to. Dolphins for life 123 says, do you think the Dolphins will be a top 5 or top 10 defense if the key players are healthy? Yes, I think so. Chris Pratt, yeah, but I think it's going to be a big leap from 29 to a top 10. But I think we have the talent to get close to the top 10. Chris Pratt says, could Roy Miller be a good... No. Esperanto says, could the Dolphins start for... Yeah, we're talented. I answered that. We're talented enough to. Jaden Alexander says, do you think we could sweep the Jets and Bills again this year? We're talented enough to. The Bills are going to be tough, but the Jets, they're tanking. So that has been your Miami Dolphins news update. I'm sorry that this is probably not going to get to you guys for a while. I had I had things that happened. And I can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts on some of these topics, man. It has been an interesting few days for the Dolphins. I can't wait. I guess the fan question of the week is, what was your worst Dolphins moment of the last 10 years? Would you just slap... I'm going to guess most of you are going to say draft picks. I know somebody's going to bring up Tyrann Mathieu and Bobby Wagner. Somebody's bringing that up. Anyway, David, so this has been your Miami Dolphins fan Q&A for this week. Remember, this podcast posts each and every single Wednesday. If you guys want me to do... there's going to be so many news updates tomorrow because of training camp. I can't wait for training camp. Get hyped. And I am Skaggs1383. And I'll see you guys in the next one.